Now, as a beginner golfer, your first time out on the range can be a little nerve-wracking, but you don't need to worry about it. I'm going to walk you through what you should and shouldn't do in this video right here to make it super easy your first time out, so you can just enjoy hitting those brand new clubs that you got. This is what a basic public golf course driving range looks like, okay? You're going to have a hitting area and a target area. Now, some driving ranges are a little nicer than others in the fact that they actually have a practice green and a practice bunker. Not all driving ranges will have that. Most of the time, it's just an open hitting area with the targets out here. Make sure that you give the course a call before you go to make sure they actually have a driving range. Some courses, given the space and placement, don't have the ability for a driving range. Now, being that it's your first time out, you need to know which bucket of balls that you get. Most driving ranges offer two options for balls, a small bucket of balls and a large bucket of balls. Small bucket of balls can range anywhere from 20 to 30 golf balls on average. A large bucket can be as low as 50 all the way up to 100. So it really just depends on how long you want to spend out on the golf course. Normally you would use a small bucket as you're warming up before you go out and play your round. A large bucket is for working out those kinks that you've got with your swing. As a beginner golfer, because you've got a new set of clubs and you want to try them all out, I always recommend going for the large bucket. It's a good time. It'll give you plenty of time, plenty of balls to hit all of those clubs that you've got. First tip that I have for you when you go out to the driving range is to pick a good spot. Now, different times of the day, we'll see either more or fewer golfers on the actual driving range. So when you get out there, just try to pick a spot that's kind of away from the main action. That way you're not going to feel any pressure about being in the middle of all these golfers swinging and hitting these shots and stuff. It can be kind of overwhelming your first time out. So I try to pick a spot that's a little bit removed from everybody else. That way you don't run into any issues. Some courses will have stalls set up and it's pretty self-explanatory. You come up, you approach from the back. Normally they'll have like a bag rack where you can set your bags in. Some courses do, some courses don't. It varies wildly. And you just select a stall that's not being used, okay? Now, tip number 2 is to make sure that you stay within the ropes. I've laid my clubs out to give you guys a visual representation, but normally driving ranges will have a set of thin ropes that run the length of the driving range, and that is the designated hitting area, okay? You don't want to tee up outside of that designated hitting area because that is ground under repair. They're trying to fix all of the divots and club markings in that specific area so that it can be used and recycled later on when they pick up the hitting area and move it back or forward. So make sure you stay within the ropes and you guys are going to be great. So tip number 3 is stay in your lane with your aim. See what I did there? It rhymed. Now, when you guys are in the hitting stall and you're actually hitting towards a target, make sure that you're hitting towards a target that's in front of you, or maybe slightly to the left or slightly to the right. If you decide to whip out a wedge and you just want to hit small little 60, 70 yard shots, and maybe there's a target that is about 60 or 70 yards away and you want to aim to that, but you're on the opposite side of the range, do not go cross range like some barbarian and hit over at that target. It's going to disrupt a lot of the golfers behind you or in front of you, and it'll just cause chaos. You don't want to do that. Be considerate of other golfers out there on the range. So tip number 4, if the range is super busy, don't tie up a stall. If you're in your stall and you're not actively practicing, you know, for example, you're taking selfies or you're talking on the cell phone or you're just, I don't know, sitting there eating a bag of chips, that's not being considerate of others who are trying to get on the range and get their practice session in. So tip number 5 is to get rid of the radio and put on the headphones. Everybody loves some good music that gets them pumped up and ready to rock and roll, or maybe you like some beats or whatever, and nobody wants to stop you from doing that when you're out on the range having a good time. But be considerate of others. The guy in the last stall, maybe he's not a big fan of rock and roll music. Maybe he likes to play polka, and you don't want to hear that while you're playing. So put on some headphones, put in your earbuds so that you can have some jams while you're hitting, but you're not disturbing any of the other golfers. So the next thing I wanted to mention is to keep your divots in a tight group, okay? You don't want to hit one shot here, one shot here, one shot here. It makes it harder to repair the actual driving range. We want to make it easy on our groundskeepers because they keep the course nice, and we can do our part by making sure that the area that we impact is as small as possible. So hit your shots in a line. Now, I know as a beginner golfer, You're probably not really good with your swing yet, but don't worry about that. Just try to keep your divots as closely grouped as possible so that the groundskeeper doesn't have to fix a little patch here, a little patch there. It's just the right thing to do. That's tip number 6. All right, tip number 7 is to not aim at the guy collecting the golf balls out in the cage cart, all right? It's not funny, it is very dangerous. If you want to get yourself kicked off of a golf course as fast as possible, aim for the guy who's just trying to do his job out there and safely collect golf balls. So don't do that. As a beginner golfer, I know controlling your swing is going to be difficult. If it's an accident, that's what the cage is there for. It's an accident, okay? But don't intentionally aim at the guy. He's just trying to do his job and do it safely. So tip number 8 is to not ask for tips from your fellow golfers. Everybody is out there on the range doing their own thing for their own golf game. And I know it can be tempting, especially as a beginner golfer, when you see the guys next to you crushing the ball and you're just like, man, I know if they could just tell me what I'm doing wrong in my swing, I would be hitting the ball like that. But that's not fair to those golfers who are just out there for practicing. If you want to say hello or nice shot, that's perfectly fine. But don't go asking for advice when you're out on the range. Be considerate of the other golfer's time. Oh. Man, that guy's crushing the ball. Hey, bro. Think you can teach me how to golf like you? No, okay, whoa, I'm sorry. Why are you lunging at me like that? Tip number 9 is to not complain about bad shots. Everybody out on the range is a different level golfer. Some will be really, really good. Some will be just starting out. Some will be somewhere in the middle. Don't yell or scream or cuss or anything like that because you hit a bad shot. Take a second, learn from it, and move on to your next shot, okay? The guy at the end of the range doesn't want to hear your frustration about how you topped an iron because he's experiencing his own level of frustration down there. Golf can be a frustrating sport. Everyone out here has hit a bad shot, so it's okay, all right? Nobody's going to be judging you. Just regroup from the bad shot, move on to the next one. God, this is stupid. Tip number 10, no matter how frustrated you get, do not throw anything on a driving range, okay? Don't pick up your tee and throw it. Don't kick balls all over the place. Don't pick up your club and throw it out and hit the guy in the next. Ow! Sorry, Frank. You don't want to do anything like that. You're going to get kicked out of the range, off the course, and you won't be welcome back, okay? Be aware of your environment. Be a good player. Be considerate of the other golfers who are out here just trying to better their game. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, then you should check out this playlist right here. It's all about how to golf and everything you need to know as a beginner. I know you'll like it. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep on swinging.